All right, I'll come back out when they open the gate, okay? Thank you, thank you, thank you. One last thing. You know, I used to think when I was a senator, there were always congestion on the highways. There's no congestion anymore. None. Regarding the highway, there's no congestion. And so the way they get me to stop talking, they'll say, we just shut down all the roads, Mr. President. You're going to lose all the votes if you don't get in. But anyway, I'll be back out. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I love you.
Joe Biden has his sights set on Pennsylvania. If he loses Pennsylvania, he loses the presidency. I'm assuming that he's actually on the ticket in November. So he called into a radio station in Philadelphia. Part of this interview is also to let the voters know that he's perfectly fine. He had one bad night, but his brain, of course, is functioning perfectly. So take a look at this part of the interview.
By the way, I'm proud to be, as I said, the first vice president, first black woman to serve with the black president. I'm proud of the first black woman in the Supreme Court. There's just so much that we can do because together there's nothing. Look, this is the United States of America. I remember as a Catholic kid growing up in an area where we didn't like Catholics didn't get elected. I'm the first president to get elected statewide in the state of Delaware when I was a kid. Well, you know, I looked at John Kennedy and said, well, he got elected. Why can't I get elected?
As usual, Julie, we kind of think we know what he's trying to say, but he just can't say it, and that's part of the problem. Let's begin with him proclaiming that he was the first black woman to serve with the black president. Far be it for us, Julie, to question how he wants to identify, right?
Right. I mean, and what is a woman? Thus far, my favorite sort of Biden moment, or elder moment of the last couple of weeks has been how he really wants to take on the in-law rape crisis going on, or the sister rape crisis going on in our country. But this might beat that, because I think this is one of these moments where you can kind of tell what he was trying to say. He's proud. I think he was saying, I was proud to serve with the first black president, and I was proud to appoint or choose the first woman and the first black. I will tell you, all that intersectionality
and I think he was trying to say I was the first Catholic to win statewide in Delaware, not the first person to win statewide.
I will tell you, all this intersectionality talk, it gets confusing. So I have a little sympathy. Like, can you imagine having to keep everything straight? Like, oh, wait, have I forgotten something? Are you disabled?
It did reek of him going on, oh, this is a Philadelphia station, urban station. Hello, black people. Let me tell you all the black things I've done for black people.
Yes, and I am black after all. So he really went for it.
Gabe, also disconcerting about this is it's a radio interview, which means he can be reading his notes. He could actually have everything right in front of him, and he still messed it up.
Right. I don't know. Yeah, I just, generally speaking, right, Biden perpetually, he's extremely confusing when he talks. It's unclear what exactly he's saying. There was a New Yorker piece by Olivia Nuzzi from, I think it went out yesterday or today. It wasn't breaking necessarily new ground, but what it did say is it included segments just about how there's White House reporters and the White House reporter pools. They are constantly kind of grappling with trying to decipher what Biden is saying. It included some anecdotes just about how this is something she had been hearing since January. Good question is, why is then something that was reported in January or the several months after that? It's July now, but yeah. So I don't know. I just think that's again, it's just reflective of what we're seeing and why the Democrats are in complete chaos right now.
Akash, let's take a look at Joe Biden again on this sort of repair tour to try to demonstrate that everything's fine. Don't worry. He's trying to instill confidence. Here he was at the White House for the July 4th celebrations, and he went off script. He went off podium. He went rogue, and this is what happened.
You got me, man. I'm not going anywhere. All right. All right, I'll come back out when they open the gate, okay? Thank you, thank you, thank you. One last thing. You know, I used to think when I was a senator, there were always congestion on the highways. There's no congestion anymore. None. Regarding the highway, there's no congestion. And so the way they get me to stop talking, they'll say, we just shut down all the roads, Mr. President. You're going to lose all the votes if you don't get in. But anyway, I'll be back out. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I love you. Thank you.
And we give thanks to our Commander-in-Chief, the President of the United States, the extraordinary President of the United States, Joe Biden.
Ho, ho, ho.
Akash, I'll let you take whatever you like, but my favorite is at the end there. You know, that stage is on the ellipse. It's where they usually do the Christmas tree lighting. And Joe Biden said, ho, ho, ho. Maybe he was confused. I mean, it was a pretty hot day in D.C. yesterday.
I mean, at this point, it's genuinely sad what they're doing. He's 81 years old. He has no business being pushed around on a presidential campaign or being made to make decisions like the president has to make. The only reason he's in this position is because, as you mentioned, enough Democrat voters and power brokers and donors, etc., think he was the person to stop Donald Trump. And that was true in 2020. It likely isn't true anymore. There's no reason to keep him up here, force him to do this, let him retire into his old age like anyone else his age should be doing. And frankly, I think the country just deserves better options than what they have before them. And certainly, it's extremely painful for Americans to see clips like this of their commander-in-chief. And as we talked about at the top of this show, it puts all of us at risk when our enemies abroad see them as well.
One other question for you, Akash, though, because you work in the realm of policy as well as messaging, and Democrats' major message for this election, they've got two issues to run. They can't run on their record. So Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, they've had two issues, abortion and the threat to democracy. So the party who's telling us that they're trying to save democracy by keeping Donald Trump from the White House, a man who just overwhelmingly won the Republican primary, they're now contemplating going into a closed chamber and a small handful of them deciding who their nominee is going to be, despite the fact that Joe Biden, like it or not, just overwhelmingly won the votes of the people. How do they sell the idea that they're saving democracy by going through such an undemocratic process?
Yeah, I mean, there's no question about it, right? It's an impossible task to do. Joe Biden was very popular with Democratic voters. That's why he won the Democratic primary, and no one seriously challenged him. The other challenge they have is that their coalition is just a bunch of disparate groups that they've mashed together through a compilation of different giveaways, whether it's to, student loan giveaways to millennials, or it's giveaways to unions or trial lawyers or the environmental causes. I mean, you saw Joe Biden struggle with an attempt to make all of their various special interest groups happy in one 30-second radio clip. It's impossible to do that, not only with your policy agenda, but also in selecting a replacement candidate. And so you're seeing a number of problems facing the Democrats all unfolding all at the same time in Joe Biden's 30-second fumbling radio clip.
Julie, setting aside the obvious signs of advanced dementia, there's another thing that bothers me here. Have you ever seen a first family so in love with the trappings of power? Why is he bragging about blocking traffic for his motorcade and the fact that he doesn't have to worry about traffic anymore? This is something that Americans hate.
That's a central feature of the the Biden family, and particularly Jill Biden. And the theory is that Jill Biden is really the one, along with Hunter Biden to some
But
degree.
you're saying Jill, First Lady Dr. Jill, right? Because it sometimes sounds like Joe. Yeah.
Right. Sorry, Jill Biden, the wife, the doctor. I'll just call her Dr. Biden. Um, is really controlling things behind the scenes, and the reason is because she loves that access. She loves, as you say, the trappings, the motorcade, the power. Vogue did a piece on her recently, another cover shot for her, and an article. And the start of the article, the reporter was clearly also in love with the trappings and the way she described being in this motorcade and the power of it. And, how Jill Biden enters the building without a care in the world. I think there is some truth to that. I think that she really does enjoy this lifestyle, this power. And I think that is what's keeping Biden in place, why it appears that Jill Biden and the family want him to stay in place, because, again, they love the power.
Yeah, I'll end it with you, Gabe. I'm just curious, as listen, we've piled on quite a bit here today because this is the dominant story and there's so much material to work with. Do conservatives in the media and also Republican politicians, do they run the risk of piling on too much that they actually turn Joe Biden into a sympathetic figure? Or are the stakes just so high that there's no time for sympathy? Yes, he's old. Yes, he's got problems. You can feel sorry for him, but you can't have him anywhere near the levers of power.
I don't think that the spotlight is on conservative media one way or the other. I think that, for the past several years, as we've discussed on this show, conservative media has reported on issues with the Biden administration, Joe Biden independently, individually. That reporting has often been ignored. Now it is very validated, and it is into the mainstream, and left of center outlets are journalists are raising concerns and reporting on concerns in the White House and whatnot. So as far as, I don't think the spotlight is on conservative media to prove or not prove anything. I think it's on the Biden administration and Joe Biden and how he's going to handle, how his allies are going to handle. They're not going to be able to shield him from the public any longer. We got the Stephanopoulos interview again. So I think the spotlight's on Joe Biden.
What I'm hearing from you, Gabe, is kind of a green light. I'm seeing permission. I'm hearing you say, pounce away, and pounce we shall.